So 2 things that I took away from this film. 1, protocol and the following of could save your life. 2, never trust robots. Ever. No matter how nice they might seem, there's something going on, and you know it really. So Ridley Scott is back with Alien Covenant, which is a prequel to Alien, but also a sequel to Prometheus, depending on which one you're more interested in going to see. There's a lot to live up to, with Alien being in the title of this film, so let's get into it. The first thing that I will say in favour of Alien Covenant is that visually it is a fantastic film. There are so many shots in this film, particularly wide landscape shots, that are very, very visually impressive. That was one of the most impressive things about Prometheus for me, even though I didn't rate Prometheus all that highly, because what I wanted to see in Prometheus was a little bit more of the development of the Alien franchise. And it did have that a little bit. You could see where it was leading to with Prometheus, but ultimately didn't have enough of the development into the franchise that people were looking for. Alien Covenant definitely has more of that. Admittedly, it is towards the tail end of the film, so you kind of come away from the film with that feeling of having the development of the Alien franchise. But for the most part, while you're watching the film, you're waiting for it to come along, and there's a lot of setup to it. But, as I said, Ridley Scott does visuals incredibly well. He is up there among the most visionary directors of all time. So if you're going into Alien Covenant wanting to see fantastic visuals, you're going to be very pleased with this film. Even though Alien Covenant is a prequel to Alien, it still, for the most part, feels very much like a Prometheus sequel, which I'm not kind of sure how I feel about. There's a lot that happened in Prometheus that deserved a continuation, even though I didn't rate the film very highly. But it's kind of not what I went to the film to see. I expected there to be some references to Prometheus and a little bit of continuation from the events of the end of Prometheus. That only makes sense because that joins Prometheus to the Alien franchise. So in a way that's kind of a good thing, because people that wanted a Prometheus sequel will have something and people that wanted an Alien prequel will have something. It's more just what you went to the film to see. And there's elements of both, but I just don't know if there was enough of one and too much of another to make it what you expect it to be. Either way, this definitely feels like a Michael Fassbender movie. For those who don't know, Michael Fassbender played David in Prometheus, who, spoiler alert, decides to take it upon himself to investigate all of the virus stuff that they find on the planet, and essentially infect the entire crew in some weird sort of experiment that he's testing. And in Alien Covenant, he plays another android, a later version of the David model called Walter, who has kind of a southern accent in this one. And for the most part, the story revolves around one of his 2 characters that he plays in the film, either Walter or David from Prometheus. So there's a lot of interaction between those 2 characters, because it's the first time David has really interacted with another android of his same make. He's trying to talk him into his way of thinking, and he's a later model, so he has different programming to him. There's a dynamic that I really liked, actually. Unfortunately, this does also mean that a lot of the rest of the cast kind of gets swept to the side, and there's a lot of expendable characters that you know are gonna be expendable because it's an alien film and people gotta die. That's gonna happen to a few people, and it does, in the most horrific ways in this film. Which leads me to another point that I really liked about Alien Covenant. Prometheus was kind of a straight up sci-fi exploration film that goes wrong, and Alien was a straight up suspense horror film. Alien Covenant kind of treads the path straight between the 2 of them, which means that it does have that explorative sci-fi genre element to it, but the horror comes from straight up body horror. They only had that one bit in Alien which takes you by surprise. In this film, you kind of expect it to happen because we know what the Alien franchise involves by this point, but they take it to a different level. So there is that unexpected moment of having things appear out of people in really different and unusual and quite graphic ways. So it has that element of horror to it as well, which I really liked, and I found it quite inventive. And then there's the main cast, which I enjoyed watching, but ultimately I came away feeling that there wasn't really that many of the actual human characters that I really liked that much. It wasn't really like they were setting up anything like an Ellen Ripley character again, like they did with Noomi Rapace in Prometheus, who was a strong female lead, who only really turns up for one bit in this film and not in the form that you expect it to be, and I'm not going to go into too much more of it because that would be spoiler territory. There isn't really that strong central character in this film that you empathize with or associate with other than Michael Fassbender, who is an android. Danny McBride, I really liked in this film. I thought he was a great character in this film. He's a risk taker. He does what he needs to save the people that he loves. And he's only really like one small part of the entire cast. But I really enjoyed watching him. Everyone else I kind of can't remember the name of, which is a little bit of a shame. So I feel like they missed a point there with being able to check something off the list, like strong human characters, check. They've got Michael Fassbender, who does a great job, but everyone else kind of falls out of the spotlight because of it. And of course, with it being an alien film, you do see xenomorphs at the end, which is great, but that's more towards the tail end of the film. So you do come out of this film feeling like you've had an Alien prequel, but while you're watching it, you feel like you're getting a Prometheus sequel. So there's bits that everyone can enjoy in there, but it's more what you came to the film to get out of it. The only downside to this is that when I came out of the film, I kind of realized that part of what made Alien and Aliens and the Alien franchise so great is the mystery of what the xenomorphs are and where they came from and how they evolved. And we get a lot of exposition behind that in Alien Covenant, but you almost feel like you've had a bit too much, and there's so much of a reveal behind the origins of Alien that you feel like the mystery has gone out of it. Which is a little bit of a shame, because it kind of feels like you're pulling back the curtain on the entire Alien franchise. So I left the cinema with that kind of happy feeling of having seen an Alien film, but while I was watching it, I felt very much like there was a lot of exposition going on and a lot of tying up ends from Prometheus. So I'm giving Alien Covenant 3 out of 5 stars because it's satisfied in some areas but not so much in others. And I think that for part of the Alien franchise, it really needs to be something fresh and original and have a lot of what people go there expecting to see. Which it did, but only in the last bit of the film. So what did you think of Alien Covenant? Have you seen it? Let me know. Let's talk nerdy in the comments. As always, you can read my written review on letterboxd.com. Look for me on there. I tend to go into a little bit more detail than I do in these videos. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see some more, click like and subscribe to see some more in the future. And until that point, I will see you next time.